What is going down, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter? Your boy, Danny Golding TV here. And I got the headphones in because I got a special guest, CG Ruthless. You can check him out here on YouTube. He was at the Niners and Lions NFC Championship game. That was a hell of a game. I've already stated before that I thought that if I had to give you my honest opinion, I think that may have been the best 49ers game I've seen in my entire lifetime. And CJ got to experience it live in person. So I want to welcome CJ to the stream. You are my first official guest here on Danny Golding TV. What's good? How was the experience at Levi's?
Yeah, what's good, man? Hey, I got the gold just like your name.
Oh, yes, you do.
Yeah,
I like it. I like
yeah,
I like all the stuff you. Or before we get even into that, show me the stuff behind you real quickly. I want to. Because you got the John Taylor thing up there. I see that. You got the. I like that little flag. You got everything as well.
The Cedric Hartman was one of my first autographs where he was one of the Niners' leading sacker at the time. You know, back in the day when the stats weren't the official stats, he was the all-time sack leader. Derek Smith was an autograph I had on my show. Julian Peterson on the other side. So pretty cool autograph collection, dude. Guess I get a lot of collections out of all that stuff. But yeah, you were talking about the game day experience, right?
Yes. So I saw you tagged me a thing on Facebook. You met our good friend JD Hawk Hater. And I'm sure you saw a lot of other familiar faces as well. What was the atmosphere in the tailgate? I mean, everyone's pumped up to have the first NFC title game at Levi's in 4 years. I'm sure that must have been exciting. So tell me a little bit about that. How was that?
Oh, the tailgate was pretty cool. I mean, especially the Lions fans, they were very friendly.
I'm sure they were. Yeah, and they traveled really well.
Mm-hmm. Like for the 20+% of their fans that came here, I got to give them their kudos. But yeah, the tailgate was pretty cool. Just went around. Then I bump into JD, which he was around the Blue Lot area, and he just noticed me right off the bat. And then I kind of noticed him, and yeah, I guess he's a good dude, man. Very good guy. But I guess, man, I just missed his videos. That's what I keep telling him about, man. When are you going to go back to coming back out of retirement? He just said he just doesn't have no interest for the moment. But, you know, it's good to see him, actually.
Yeah, no, definitely. I miss his videos too. I noticed on his page it's about 4,000 subs. So if he ever comes back, he doesn't have to worry about even having new people subs. He still got most of them there. But did you see any other familiar faces from like his YouTube or anything?
John Chapman.
Okay.
49ers Gold Rush guy podcast. John Chapman. He was around the corner. We went around. Yeah, he's most noticeable for those breakdown films for the Niners. You know, that breakdown junkie that looks like Louis Anderson or John Candy.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. And, you know, it's funny. Lions fans did travel well. And I actually, before the game, because my friend's superstitious, I didn't want to actually watch it with me because the Lions have lost so the games that he's had people over before. But he's a kid I went to high school with. He's a lifelong Lions fan. The only time he's ever seen his team make the playoffs before was when we were juniors in high school. That was the 2014-15 season with Matthew Stafford when they lost to the Cowboys. Yeah. I remember he was saying that he saw was it Cortland Sutton, their quarterback? He thought that he was going to be a future. He was worried about him going into that game.
That Sutton guy. You mean Cam Sutton, the guy that they got for the cornerback? Yeah, that guy's like
right, Cameron Sutton. Yeah.
Then there's Vildor. I don't know how you say his name. Vildor's another one that's suspect.
Yeah, we'll get into him. Yeah, he's of course the ladybug catch from Brandon Ayuk, the one that bounced off his helmet into the hands of Brandon Ayuk. I'll get into that in a little bit.
I couldn't even believe you said the ladybug.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you heard. There was a story about Ayuk talked about how there was a ladybug that landed on his shoe before the game or something. I forget exactly what the whole situation was, but so I think that's why they're calling it the ladybug catch. There's a lot of good options. The Ayuk fluke, the immaculate deflection. Someone said that in Damon's chat after in the post game. There's some good things that I've even heard people try to call it the catch 4, and honestly, that's
That's just
that would
pointless.
for me. I would only call that something where it's a game-winning catch, and
It should be called something like or Ayukin miracle or something.
Okay,
something
yeah.
like,
Another good one I heard. I think Greg Papa said this one. Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? Yeah. Yeah.
I want to welcome the chat a little bit. Seahawks Eddie says, "What up, Danny and CG? Thanks for checking."
And then
in.
Tommy's a good guy too. Tommy's one of my
yeah. I was about to. Tommy,
he's a joker.
Who I'm not exactly never seen him before. He says, "Hey, ass bags, go Niners. Fuck the toilet. Fuck the queeps."
No, he's like that. He can be like that.
Yeah.
He's like a musician or something. He does like musician music, but he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the game day experience was a lot different than going to an actual regular season game. So, like, when you saw the vibe, it was super loud. Like, it was quiet for a while because of the way it was reacting. Most of all, you heard a little bit of the Lions fans getting a little too cocky when I was just walking towards my seat assignment, because I was just trying to like walk around, and I saw Eminem. I actually saw Eminem right down the corner area, right where he was at. So I took a quick second of a quick video, and then I just walked away before that security guard was getting on my case. So, yeah, it was pretty cool seeing Eminem.
Now, Steve Young did his weekly interview on KMBR yesterday, and he was talking about meeting Eminem because they have a picture together and everything. And I guess Eminem was kind of feeling cocky at halftime, which you can't blame him because his team was up by a good margin. It's their first NFC Championship game in 32 years. And I think Steve Young apparently told him it's not over until you score 34 points. And then you can kind of say it's over, is what he said, which is, I think is awesome. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, this was by far, like the way you just said it, this was by far the greatest game. Like I think the one that is the most comeback was the Niners and Falcons, because we were down by 17 also.
Yes, I was actually I was watching the highlights of that game before I came on with you. I remember that game well back in January of 2013. That was my freshman year of high school, and my mom used to take me to one of the AZ Niner Empire restaurants / bars back then, which was all the way in Chandler. Now we have one that I go sometimes on the ASU campus, quite a bit closer to me, but because we had like a little private room then, and I just remember like being down 17-0. It's just, I remember in that game, just like with this one, and part of the reason why is because it was earlier. Now last Sunday's game was the largest. It was the first time in history that a team came back from being down by 17 at halftime. And in that Falcons game 11 years ago, the margin was 17-0, but it wasn't all the way at halftime yet. It was only about in the second quarter was when the Falcons went up by that score. So,
yeah.
But would you compare? How would you compare those two games, though?
Well, if you think about it, like when we went to Atlanta, that kind of had some momentum because we haven't won a road playoff game since 1989 at that time, if I was mistaken. That's what got us over the hump a little bit. But just by experience, that Lions and Niners game just had a great vibe. It just had some meaning to it. Like, yeah, the Lions deserved to be here because of what they had, but that it came down to Dan Campbell's costly play calling, if I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, we were playing poorly in the beginning. The run defense is probably the one issue I'm hoping we can work on, because that running back from the Chiefs is going to be a tough task.
Yeah, Isaiah Pacheco is no joke. He's a damn good running back, and we'll get into the matchups for the Super Bowl a little bit later. But it's the first time, in 4 years we've been to the Super Bowl. And of course, we play the last team that beat us in the Super Bowl. And it's kind of funny going into championship weekend. Both of the two potential opponents, if we were to get past the Lions, were the two teams in my lifetime that we've actually lost to in the Super Bowl. So I thought that was, very interesting that we had to. It was almost a question of Niner fans, which team would you want to play again? And I personally, despite the fact that the Ravens kicked our ass on Christmas, I kind of was hoping that would be the matchup that we would have, because still thought that would be the easier matchup than going up against Patrick Mahomes.
Just by what you were saying, Baltimore, yeah, because you can say because of Lamar Jackson, but dude, their defense was just crazy good, dude. Like, I don't know. My gut feeling says I wanted Kansas City, actually, because Mahomes doesn't have a lot of weapons. Like in the previous years, you can say he was because he had a lot of good supporting. He'll still be Mahomes, but what does he have? Travis Kelce, Rashid Rice, and who else? I mean, Isaiah Pacheco's a good running back too, but who else do they got? Martez Scantley, Kadarius Toney. Those guys can't catch. I'm not scared of them. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I've noticed that it seems like the Chiefs. It's a little bit different than the 2019-20 season. The Chiefs had probably the better offense then, and it was the Niners that had the better defense then. And now it seems to be the opposite. It seems to be the Niners have the better defense, and the Chiefs have the better offense. Or I'm sorry, the Chiefs have the better defense. Niners have the better offense. Chiefs have the better defense.
Yeah, Chiefs defense are dealing with some injuries right now too. So I'm already checking out some injury reports for them, and 2 of the defensive linemen are going to be out for this game. So that might be a huge impact on how we do on offense. So Charles Omenihu, who was a Niner at like last year, tore his ACL in the AFC Championship game, and then their best run stopper on D tackle, Derek Noddy, whatever his name is, he's placed on IR. There's been questions about Willie Gay, the linebacker. He might be considered a question mark because of a neck injury, Chris Jones quadricep or whatever the injury is. And then their offensive lineman, Joe Thuney, there's a good chance he might not even play.
So going back a little bit to the game on Sunday. Now, of course, the first half, the Lions absolutely dominated, especially on the ground. Both Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery were just running all over the Niners. They got the first touchdown to Jameson Williams like pretty quickly, almost at the very beginning of the game. Like that, they went on that first drive just so quickly, and then I believe David Montgomery got the next one, and then Gibbs got the third one, and it ended up being 24-7 going into halftime. But the one thing the Niners were able to do at the end of the first half is keep the Chiefs out of the end zone before halftime, because then it would have been 28-7. How crucial do you think that ended up being, the fact that they were able to stop the Chiefs, or excuse me, stop the Lions? Then I'm already looking ahead, you know.
You're looking ahead,
but speak it into existence. Although I'd prefer not to even be down against the Chiefs. I'd prefer to even speak that to existence. But
no. I don't think we got to deal with that at this point. I think that we made a stop was huge because the clock was ticking before halftime. So I think once we made that stop on 4th down, they were just going to kick the field goal. I mean, if you know the difference between other teams that we played, like Green Bay, remember how they played Dallas? They gave up so many touchdowns that it was hard for Dallas to come back. But when we gave up field goals, it made a difference because we came back and still won. So I think the fact that we got them to just kick a field goal was a win. But going into halftime, there was that little obstacle challenge, you know? Can Kyle Shanahan get over the hump by being down by this much on halftime?
Yeah, and then the whole talk for most of the season was, oh, can Purdy come back from behind? And I think it's ironic, the fact that people were using that as a thing against him, because it's almost like, well, don't you have to actually be behind first before you even talk about coming back from behind?
Yeah.
But Purdy, these last couple weeks has proved he's been able to do that. Now, I want to ask you about going back to the crowd. What was the atmosphere like at halftime? Could you feel, were the fans really pissed off? Could you see anyone? Did anyone look like they were just about to leave already?
When I was
Levi Stadium at halftime, a little bit. What was it? Were people?
They were a little quiet. They were a little bit quiet. They were just a little shaking, like I was. I was just walking around. I seen a lot of different reaction. When I was walking by, I seen a bunch of cocky Detroit Lions fans thinking they're going to the Super Bowl, but I was just walking by. A bunch of our other fan base were kind of like saying, "Can we get a comeback at least?" It wasn't like as loud, you know. It was more like we were quiet for a minute because of the score difference. But yeah, but once we started coming back, that vibe changed.
Absolutely. And so in the second half, the Niners put together a pretty good drive when they got the ball to start the half. It only led to a field goal, which obviously at that point, it's like, oh, are you kidding me? You can't even get in the end zone. but that's when Debo started doing his thing, and Purdy went back on his feet and everything. And then, of course, when the Niners did score the touchdown to make it 24 to make it 24-17. So after the Ayuk, on the next drive is when the immaculate deflection, the pass from Purdy that went off the hands of, what's the Lions quarterback's name?
Vildor? Yeah, Vildor.
Yeah, Kendall Vildor.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kendall Vildor. Yeah, just went off his helmet and then into the hands of Brandon Ayuk, which that's going to go down in history as, I would say, I'm definitely not going to say one of the best plays, because it was kind of an accidental play, but it'll go down as just one of the coolest little moments, I guess, in a 49ers comeback win like
it
this.
Would come down as that. But when you see strange plays like that, that kind of builds a huge momentum swing, right? I've seen teams who had this strange play and it becomes legendary. For some reason, that team ends up winning the Super Bowl for some reason. It's just, it has to be some type of play that you just build onto. Like, you ever seen that type of play where, like you were talking about, like something like the immaculate reception, the catch, different type. There's a different kind of play that defines their mark. If they win the Super Bowl, they get this legacy play. They get this play. Like, that's something that Ayuk is probably going to live with for the rest of his life, because that play alone is just something that won't be forgot. But the way how Ayuk responded on the top plays, he was pissed. He says, "How come I'm not number one?"
Yeah, I did hear that. I did hear a couple of that. Yeah.
Oh man, like, that play should be number one easily.
Yeah. So of course, after it almost looked, I think people thought they were going to maybe give him the touchdown on that play, but they didn't. But then it was first and goal, and then Ayuk ended up throwing an actual touchdown pass to Ayuk right after that. And then the Lions, on their drive almost immediately after that, that's when Gibbs fumbled and Armstead recovered. And that is the moment where I kind of felt the momentum shift from the Lions side to the Niners side. Could you feel the momentum change at Levi's when that happened?
Yeah, it swinged. The crowd was super loud. You just heard, once they saw that turnover, it was just a huge, like, sigh of relief that we're back in this game and we're going to take control of the lead. Because there was a couple key plays, but I think that fumble by Gibbs just really changed the momentum right there. And I think we were unstoppable right off the bat. And then that's just how it felt, because I think the score was at least to the point where we had 24-24. We got into, no wait, it was 17-24, and that's when that fumble happened. So when that fumble happened, we were in position to score, and we ran it with Christian McCaffrey. But that play was the difference. Dan Campbell's fourth down conversion that he did a couple of times, they really bit the Lions in the butt.
Yeah, and for those watching that don't know, Dan Campbell is known for going for it on fourth down, and you can say that's kind of careless and all that, but that's part of the reason why the Lions were there in the first place at the same time. The most famous one from this year was, of course, in that Cowboys game when they were just down by a touchdown. They went for it on the 2-point conversion. The lineman that scored did report as eligible, but one of the other linemen reported as eligible earlier, so the ref was confused, and a lot of people thought the Lions got screwed then. But then, and I personally thought Dan Campbell should have just kicked it even the first time, but then even the second time he didn't kick it.
Yeah, I think he just had to
get it. Yeah,
I think he was just too gutsy. He had his pride. He set that play on his mind, so I don't think he had no intentions to kick a field goal. But yeah, Campbell is just too aggressive. It can cost you. It can pay off, or it can cost you the season, which it did cost him the season. So, I mean, if you would have told me we were down by 17 going into halftime, dude, I would be like, "Are you kidding me, bro? We've been known not to come from behind." But now we're kind of showing that adversity. We're playing through a lot of adversity. The Packers game, we won through the fourth quarter. But then when you saw how we played from the Lions, halftime, we just had a click, get it together. So I'm starting to see a different side of our characters. Like everybody questioned Shanahan doesn't know how to win from behind. Those 2 playoff games have shown that he can do that. Even by 1 touchdown, 3 possessions, we still came back and won.
Chris Barnhart asks if you thought when it was if it would have been 28-7 at halftime, would it have been game over?
I don't know. I think either way. I don't know. It could have been either way. Maybe we would have still won because we had momentum. I think we were still scoring. I think the difference of the score is I think it could have been a different outcome, but I don't think it mattered because we still had to build momentum. Maybe that stop that got him to force a field goal was a huge win, but maybe that touchdown could have been a little difficult, but we were building momentum. So the game would have been 28 or something, and they probably would have at least, like the point differential, it probably would have been a lot closer, and we probably would have still won. Because it was already like the team was clicking. Like halftime, we were just adjusting. So maybe we would have still won even if they got that touchdown.
So, and the guy that just asked that question, Chris Barnett, I'm about to bring him on. He's actually going to hang out with me in Vegas next week for the Super Bowl. I'm not going to be there for the whole week, but I think he's planning to be there for the whole week. I'm actually going to leave on Sunday night, be there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then head back to Arizona on Thursday. So I want to welcome my good friend Chris Barnhart into the chat. What is good? Thank you for joining the stream.
What is good, y'all?
What's good, man?
Hey, when Campbell went for it the second time on 4th down, I didn't understand that at all. Just kick the field goal, tie the game up.
That would.
But the first time I understood why he did it, even though looking in hindsight, it would have been maybe smart to be up 17. He had the 49ers on their heels. I would have went for it too.
Yeah, because for them to beat us, you got to go for all downs because that gives them a chance. Like, look at how Green Bay did sometimes. When Green Bay was converting on 4th down, they were trying to keep up with us. That's what Detroit does. That's what got Detroit to go to the conference because Dan Campbell took the chances. And 80% of his 4th down conversions were good. 80% of his conversions were good. They were like the best in the NFL, I believe.
Everybody talks about those 2 missed 4th down conversions, but here's the one thing people forget. Right before where they had to settle for a field goal going into halftime, Jared Goff misfired on a pass that should have been a touchdown. If you remember that.
Was that the play where was Jameson on that play? Because I think he was open, right?
He had a guy wide open. He connected with that pass, it had been a 28-7 ball game going into halftime. And if it was 28-7 at halftime, I'm thinking game over.
Yeah, well, Dan Campbell actually almost went for it on 4th down.
He did almost go for it, and it was smart for him to just kick the field goal.
Yeah, in that case, I've heard people make the argument that maybe that's when he should have gone for it, and then later in the game is when he shouldn't have. I've heard that argument as well.
Yeah.
But if the game was 28-7, like it should have been, and I'm not talking smack about the 49ers. I'm not against the 49ers at all. If anything, I'm happy that the 49ers are there to shove it up Cowboy fans' asses.
Absolutely, yes.
What could have been, but Dan Campbell was smart kicking that.
No, but I'm just saying in that circumstance, and I told Danny asked me to ask you some questions. I said, if that game's 28-7.5, is the game over and the Lions are going to their first Super Bowl?
It could have been the difference maker. It was the 4-point difference.
Absolutely. These last 2 games, I'm surprised the 49ers are favored going into this Super Bowl. I really am. Considering the fact that the Chiefs are really starting to come along when the Chiefs have been playing.
I am too, to an extent.
I'm not really surprised like some of you guys are.
But you look at it like this. The Chiefs
look how the Chiefs started, dude. The Chiefs started off very slow. Their offense just wasn't up to the highest level. They're peaking. They're I get that you would say you want them to be the favorite because they're the defending Super Bowl champions, but look at what they've done the regular season.
this whole year, the Chiefs have not looked like the same Chiefs we're accustomed to, right?
They're not the same exact team. That's why I understand why Vegas picked us because of the consistency. Like in the regular season, it took the receivers a while to click with Patrick Mahomes.
But I mean, since this playoff started, I mean, the Chiefs have gotten awakened. They've awoken a beast, and the Chiefs have played really well this playoffs.
Yeah,
And the 49ers, and this is not me talking smack, but the 49ers, I think, maybe got lucky in both their wins.
Lucky is something that we've been getting away with, but yeah, you may have an argument because the Chiefs are playing hot football, but if you're looking
the Chiefs had been playing pedestrian basically all season until the playoffs.
This is why I'm okay with Vegas picking us, actually, because when Shanahan is the favorite, that he wins 6-0. I mean, look at yes, Patrick Mahomes, that's the star of their team, of course. Travis Kelce, the star, but the offense by Brock Purdy and the Niners, it's consistent. They're putting up top 5 numbers. The Niners have a complete team, but yes, they haven't been playing their best football on defense. But if you had to choose who would be your actual favorite, the Niners are the number 1 seed in the conference. The Chiefs are number 3. Because of their inconsistent. The way they started off in the season, they had to get their receivers to click. Yes, and they're peaking at the right time. That's what matters, is peaking at the right time. And yes, the Chiefs are a hot football team, but they got some little messes. And here's why they won against the Ravens. The Ravens forgot who they are. They didn't run the ball. They should have stuck with running the ball. That was Baltimore's big mistake. They abandoned the running game. That's what
they did not run the ball. No, they abandoned the run totally, which worked for them all year. But here's the thing. I mean, like in that game as well, an underrated thing about it is the Chiefs' defense shut down Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. And the Ravens had a lot of bad things go their way as well. Like the Zay Flowers penalty was a big one. Didn't he have multiple? Like the taunting one is the main one that I'm like thinking of at the moment, is because that took away a whole touchdown for the Ravens, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it negated the touchdown, but the problem is the Ravens were still in this ball game. They should have stuck with their formula, run the ball. They were number 1 in running the football. If they were down by 2 or 3 touchdowns, I could understand if they don't want to stick with the running game, but they were down by, 10 or 7 points? Stick with the formula.
The Chiefs' defense played outstanding.
Yeah, that doesn't
Steve Spagnuolo is a great defensive mind as defensive coordinator, always has been.
But the thing is, you stick with your formula. The Niners were down by 17 going into halftime. They still stuck with the formula. Ravens were the best at running the football. They're trying to make Lamar Jackson into something he's not. Like the running game helps him a little bit better. When the Ravens have a good running game, Lamar's going to play great. But if you don't stick with the formula, that's just not how Lamar is. They're trying to make him into something he's not. He has to have a good running game.
Now, speaking of the running game in general, how about Brock Purdy making plays with his legs? Now, I actually uploaded a video a couple days ago, actually. I titled it "Brock Purdy does his best Steve Young impression," and it already has 11,000 views. And what I'm referring to also, not just the plays that he made with his leg, but there's a famous play from 1988 where Steve Young was about to get sacked, and Lon Simmons on the call said, "Young gets sacked, no, gets away again," and then scores a touchdown.
And stumbles.
Yeah, and on Sunday, Brock Purdy looked like Steve Young making plays with his legs, but there's also a play where it looked like he was about to be sacked, and he just threw that pass to Kyle Juszczyk.
Yeah,
he would have got very Steve Young-like. CG, what do you think about that? Just Brock Purdy just making plays with his legs, which we've seen a little bit of, but no one would consider Brock Purdy necessarily a mobile quarterback like Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. Do you think we might be seeing a new version of Brock Purdy that could maybe kind of be a little bit of a mobile quarterback now?
I think what we're seeing is something that we haven't seen much in college. I don't think he was really much of a mobile quarterback in college. I think he's starting to showcase what he is because, yeah, you can say he's underrated as a runner. The guy can run. I mean, this kid runs like he's running for Reese's. Dude, like, how do you make this kind of run, bro? I don't know. The kid he's doing like a Lamar Jackson impression, running around like he's Lamar Jackson or Steve Young out there, or Michael Vick. But yeah, Brock is kind of showcasing that he is more than just a regular quarterback. He can move.
CJ.
Yeah, what's up, man?
You on YouTube?
Yeah, but I go under CG, not CJ. People keep getting
sorry.
Yeah, CG.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. Yeah, I do my channels. I do interview some NFL players on my free time or other stuff. I do like an NFC West podcast, different stuff, but mostly I'm active on TikTok.
Oh, how did you get in touch with Danny?
We've known each other for a little while. You know, he's been doing his thing. Started off over here.
How old are you?
33.
33. Okay. So you would have been alive the last time the 49ers won a Super Bowl.
Do you remember that Super Bowl at all? You're forced.
I can barely remember because I was a toddler.
But you know what? Hey, I always say this.
My brother watched it. My brother watched it. My mom and dad watched it, but they were Cowboy fans, so I didn't really had no interest of like.
I remember you saying that a little bit now that you mentioned it. Yeah, I remember.
No, but I remember what I'm going to say now is this. You know, I mean, granted, it's been forever since the 49ers last won anything, but guess what? At least they've made it past the second round a lot, unlike the Cowboys have.
That's true. That's one thing my old man would have said. You know, he would have said, at least you guys got further than my team, you know. But I mean, I'm not the person that's gonna brag about it over other teams. You know, the only thing I care about is did we win the Super Bowl. Nobody cares about participation, you know. That's a loser mentality.
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, but it is good to say we did get further, but I'm a kind of guy that wants the Super Bowl or nothing.
No, I want the Super Bowl as well. But I mean, it's just, you know, saying like how like Cowboy fans talk so much smack, but they haven't even made it past the second round since '95.
Yeah, that's true. But the best way to silence them for good is to win the Super Bowl. They won't say nothing after that because all they're going to bring up is 1994. That's all they're going to bring up. But if we win this Super Bowl, they can't say nothing because it's recent. So, like, yeah, a lot of them do that. Even Raider fans or even other fan base we deal with on a daily basis, they'll do that kind of stuff. Even these Rams fans, like, how do they come out the woodwork sometimes? I just don't get how they're just like Seattle fans sometimes.
You hate the Rams?
I just have a dislike for them for certain reasons because I just don't see loyalty out of those fan base. Like when their team is that bad, you don't hear a squeak for them or anything like that. When they're that bad, you don't hear a single Rams fan repping their team. When they're winning, these Rams fans come out of the woodworks. But when they're losing, you won't see them.
Do you hate the Seahawks?
Not as much as everybody thinks. I mean, I just don't like how they're trying to be like Raider fans. That's what I don't like about them. But Seattle, Seattle, as much as I have a dislike for them, they only had one Super Bowl to show for. And the best victory lap is that Richard Sherman claims more of a Niner than he does as a Seahawk.
Yeah, so I've noticed. I don't know if you noticed, CG, but Richard Sherman has been beefing with Seahawks fans on Twitter lately.
I've been seeing that too. And yeah, these Seattle fans are bitter, man. They don't like that he kind of reps both sides. It's like, what's up with that, man? So it's okay for Marshawn Lynch to rep the Raiders, but you can't give him a question. Come on. And what is wrong with some Seattle fans okay with Raiders? Come on, that's your old rival. That's suspect to me. Real Seahawk fans would not like the Raiders.
Now, speaking of the Raiders, so the Niners going into the Super Bowl they're playing in the Raider fans' absolute worst nightmare. In their stadium, it's the Niners versus the Chiefs.
They don't have no interest. So this is the funnest part. They got it a couple years ago where it was the nightmare scenario, but it's in their stadium now. So like they can't imagine that the Chiefs win one or the Niners win one. Like either one is a nightmare.
And another cool thing of note, so Greg Papa, of course, the Niners current radio announcer, was a Raiders announcer for years, from about the 90s up into 2017. And he had a great relationship with Al Davis, but not so much of a good relationship with his son, Mark Davis. Eventually, he ended up getting fired by the Raiders. He took a year off and then became the Niners announcer. This is the ultimate revenge Super Bowl for Greg Papa because he has even if they don't win, it's still kind of revenge. The fact that he even gets to call a Super Bowl at the Raiders stadium is pretty cool. But the fact that he gets sacked, he could potentially call a Super Bowl victory.
At that stadium.
In a press box not far from where Mark Davis is sitting is.
That would be kind of, let's just imagine we pull the victory over the Chiefs. And you see Brock Purdy or whoever gets the MVP. Let's say typically Brock Purdy gets the MVP. Can you imagine what Hollywood's going to do? They're going to make a Brock Purdy movie. They're going to call it the last pick in the draft, or what is it? They're going to call it last pick
or Mr. Irrelevant or something like that. Yeah, Mr. but they might name something else. But I want to bring in Bandwagoner 2011, also known as formerly 49er Wildcat, known as Sean as well. Welcome on in. Welcome to the club. Got a full house now.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Good. What is what's on your new profile picture?
That's just, I don't know what OBS or StreamYard is doing, so my apologies for that. I wanted to use the Harbaugh profile picture because Harbaugh was the first guy who I grew up under when I became a fan. I mean, I'm like of the younger generation.
Press conference as the new head coach of the Chargers today. I didn't get a chance to hear it yet, but
as you said, at least he's not in the NFC.
Yes.
Yeah. At least he's kind of like giving the Chargers some hope. Justin Herbert just needs an actual coach. And
CG, I wanted to get in here just to ask you a question because, yeah, you definitely saw those Harbaugh Niners during the early 2010s. Do you feel like for the Chargers to succeed under Harbaugh, should they give him more control of the team than what the Niners did?
They need to give Harbaugh control because he knows what he's doing. I think if they give him some power, he can pick whoever he wants, and they're going to succeed under his system. So, like, Justin Herbert's going to have a great career just with Harbaugh coaching this guy. If the Chargers they got to start off good in the draft too.
Well, I mean, the AFC West is going to be weak outside of Kansas City and LA next year. I mean, I like what the Raiders did under Pierce when Pierce became the interim head coach. Pierce rallied the troops. Pierce got them together. But I think the Raiders still have some issues.
There we go. My actual PFP's here.
Yeah, that's the old Harbaugh.
And the Broncos are just a total mess.
Yeah, Broncos are going to have to look for another quarterback, unfortunately.
You think Broncos are a mess? You think already done with Russell Wilson?
I think they're moving on from Russell Wilson.
They are. They're releasing him.
Look, fellas, let's be honest here at the moment because earlier today it appeared that the Raiders are apparently going to hire Cliff Kingsbury as their OC. If that doesn't tell me they're cooked, I don't know what will. I mean, Seattle is cooked. The Raiders are cooked. Broncos are probably cooked. And maybe the Cowgirls are cooked.
Well, they have to replace Dan Quinn because he took the commander's job. So
yes, he did. And you know what's funny? Guess what? Ron Rivera interviewed for the defensive coordinator job.
How do you go?
Oh, come on. That's a
promotion. You going from the
I don't understand the NFC East at this moment because from what I can understand during 2023, it seems as if the top two teams there, both the Cowboys and the Eagles, all took on some cupcake teams. But once they took on the real teams, the real contenders, they got their asses whooped. I
think the NFC East is going to look a little bit different next year. I think Washington's still going to be probably in the gutter. They're under new ownership, and Dan Quinn was a stupid hire.
I think Washington's going to rise to power.
I
within a
think
few years.
Dan Quinn made the most sense in Seattle because they would have still kept the foundation of what Pete Carroll built over there.
Yeah,
I think
but now Seattle's cooked.
Dallas is going to be in some cap hell. Dallas is going to.
Mike McDonald is going to be I think he's going to change a little bit of his scheme, running like a Baltimore
McCarthy.
type defense. Yeah.
Dallas
McCarthy,
is going to have some problems next year. They're going to be in some cap hell, especially once they have to give their overrated stat patter quarterback $60+ million.
I think next year is going to be the last year of Cowboys being in the playoffs, and then after that, they're going to go on a drought for a while until they find someone else.
Eagles got a lot of free agents.
Oh, Kellen Moore is their new OC, so they complain about their play caller Brian Johnson, but hey, Kellen Moore.
Guess what? I think Jalen Hurts is starting to show his true colors that he's not that great of a quarterback.
Yeah, I think he's overrated. And
I think
if
he's
you guys,
totally overrated.
Overrated. Guys, if there's anything I learned this season when compared to last year's NFC Championship game, because I decided after watching us beat the Lions, I decided to go back and relive the painful loss of last year. And I've come to the realization that those Philadelphia Eagles, the only reason why they won the championship game last year was for one simple reason. Brock Purdy got hurt. Had Purdy not gotten hurt, I think they would have won the game, especially as we saw in December. I mean, they got their asses kicked.
I'm not going to guarantee that we would have beat the Eagles last year if Purdy didn't get hurt. I'm not ready to guarantee that, but I think we would have had a great opportunity to.
I think it would have been closer. It would have been a closer game.
Yeah, it would have been a very close game, I think, because the Eagles that year were a lot better than the Eagles of 2023.
The Eagles had a physical defense at the time.
And I was rooting hardcore. I was rooting hardcore for you guys last year in that NFC Championship game.
No, but Philadelphia, they had some good linebackers. Let's not ignore that. Last year, they had some really good linebackers.
But no, the Eagles got a lot of free agents this offseason.
Oh, they lost Hargrave to the Niners.
Yeah, but they had some dogs at linebacker. This year, they're linebackers.
No, but this offseason, they're losing a bunch of guys. They're going to be losing a bunch of guys.
Cap space, hell, yep. They're going to lose a lot because they
can't. And guess what? Dak, like I said, with the Cowboys, Dak's got to get his big deal, big contract. They're not going to be able to afford both Lamb and Parsons because they're going to be wanting paydays soon.
I think Lamb is probably going to be the one they're going to focus on more than Parson.
Well, if they lose Parsons, already losing Dan Quinn's a big loss as defensive coordinator.
Yeah, but
if they lose Parsons, they're in big trouble.
It's not like he's a difference maker. He's good, but come on, defensive.
Who's a more impactful player for the Cowboys, Lamb or Parsons?
I think CeeDee Lamb is the difference, but yeah, Parson is just he's a hybrid pass rusher, but he can do everything. I guess you can make a case, but is he a game wrecker where he can change the game? Not really. There's other teams that block them pretty well, and he doesn't seem to be consistent. One
guy I think that has potential to be a game wrecker, and he had a big year this year. He had double-digit sacks. Kayvon Thibodeau. Yes.
Oh, that kid. Yeah, the one from the Giants. Yeah, he's pretty raw. The one guy that's probably going to be somebody that Dallas has to overpay at maybe down the road is Darren Bland. That guy's going to get some big dollars.
Here's the thing with Deron Bland. Deron Bland got, it's just he got ball luck this year. He had 5 INTs, five pick sixes, but it was a lot of it was luck. Ball bounced the right way.
I don't want to sound like I'm jumping the shark a bit, but after seeing this year and especially what could be coming down the next couple of years down the line, I think the National Football Conference is going to be pretty weak when compared to the AFC. So if anything, this Super Bowl window for the 49ers is quite wide open for the next few years.
I think as long as we keep the team, as long as we draft well, I don't see no step going down going forward. I think
next year's in the next draft, which is only a few months away, 49ers got around 11 picks.
Yeah, we can use our first round pick on maybe getting a tackle.
That's right. For the first time in years, mainly thanks to that shitty Trey Lance trade, 49ers finally have a first round draft pick.
Hey, we threw that away. We could have got Jamar Chase or somebody else, but nope.
I almost feel as if that pick wasn't even a Kyle Shanahan one, but a John Lynch one.
It seemed like he was forced to get him, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, Jet York just came out today, the owner. He said that Shanahan never really thought Lance was really the guy. He always knew Purdy was the man.
Yeah,
No,
sorry. I wanted to get into actually real quickly because I know CJ said he has to leave in a few minutes. So I wanted to actually see. I even did it too. I was like kind of getting annoyed when Chris and I'm
like the only one who's got it right.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, so this is a quick article from Matt Mayoko on NBCSportsBayArea.com. Let's talk about how Jed York was caught off guard by Shanahan's initial Purdy prediction, and it's only like a couple paragraphs. I'll just read it real quick. Okay, it says, the 49ers were approximately 1 week into training camp in the summer of 2022 when Coach Kyle Shanahan approached CEO Jed York. He grabs me after practice and says, "We got to talk," York said on Thursday. And that's generally not a good thing when your coach tells you, "We got to talk." Shanahan's message to York foreshadowed one of the great stories in NFL history, the sudden rise of the final pick in the 2022 NFL draft to a player leading his team into the Super Bowl less than 2 years later. I think our third-string quarterback is our best quarterback, Shanahan told York, referring to little-known former Iowa State quarterback Brock Purdy. In his second season, Purdy was an NFL MVP candidate and is one of the major reasons the 49ers will play in Super Bowl 58 on February 11th against the Kansas City Chiefs. But when York first heard Purdy had great potential, it caught him more than a little off guard. At that point, Purdy was third on the 49ers depth chart behind Trey Lance and Nate Sudfeld. Later, the 49ers agreed to a new deal to retain Jimmy Garoppolo. Sudfeld was released. Purdy remained on the 53-man roster to open the season as third-string quarterback. The Niners had large investments in quarterbacks ahead of Purdy. They traded up to select Lance with the number 3 overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. Garoppolo previously on a contract that paid him $27.5 million annually, accepted a pay cut to $7 million to open the season as a backup to Lance. York did not know exactly what to make of Shanahan's Purdy proclamation that day. One thing owners don't love to hear when they've invested money and or draft picks or both into people, and the last pick in the draft is the guy we think is the best, York said. That's generally not great news, but he's honest. At that time, Shanahan reassured York that he was not thinking of moving Purdy to the top of the depth chart, but he expressed his belief that things would end up with Purdy as the team starting long-term quarterback. Okay, and I don't have to read the whole rest of that. It's not that much.
That whole 2021 quarterback draft class was a total bust, a total failure of epic proportions. And besides, we then got a better class a couple of years later. 2022 was bad. 23 was better. But I heard the next class that's coming up is going to be even better than that one.
It's got a deeper class. Like, it's got some good quarterbacks coming out of that class. But
New England's going to need a quarterback.
Yeah, but there's just I think everybody should give Brock his flowers, man. The guy's exceeded all expectations. I mean,
yeah, no, CJ, I know you were not on the Purdy hype train initially.
I mean, I don't blame people because that was Mr. Irrelevant, and no one knows what to expect from Mr. Irrelevant.
I had to see more of the kid's film. I had to see more games. Like, okay, you know how we were falling for the Jimmy G's and those other quarterbacks the previous years.
That 2017, I remember.
It kind of gave me a step back because I didn't want to fall for this again. You know how it's like the dating game. You know how you feel. You think maybe she's the real deal. You know what I mean? But you gotta like see what she's all about. Hey, how does she present herself?
Well, now you know. Well, now we all know what Pats fans were going through in 2001 when Tom Brady first debuted.
But okay, here was my critique on Brock. Can he actually do it again? Because the defense had the film all offseason. That was my main take. That was my main take. Can he come back the same? And I'll tell you what, he passed with flying colors. I wanted to see consistency, and he's proven it. So the comparisons with him and Jimmy Garoppolo is a slap in the face. I'll say that. I think he is he is like the better version. Dude, he's a mobile Drew Brees. The guy can move and he thinks quickly, bro. He quickly processes that.
And his passes are accurate.
Yeah. Mobile Drew Brees. He's the new Drew Brees.
Oh, man, that would be shocking. Wasn't Drew Brees initially a second rounder?
But he had the accuracy, dude. The guy was not that big. Everybody said he didn't have a strong arm, but that's what Brock is. But Brock is mobile. Brock is accurate. Brock processes faster than most quarterbacks. I've noticed the difference with him is that he doesn't take forever to look for another receiver. He'll actually eventually look for another open guy or just go around, which I do like about Brock's game a little bit, that he kind of does make something out of nothing if he has to.
He always looks comfortable in the pocket. Now, it's interesting. He did throw an interception in the first half when things weren't looking good, and a lot of people initially thought like, "Oh, we're going to lose this game because in all the games where Purdy's thrown a pick before, we've lost." But now the thing with Jimmy is whenever he would throw an interception, a lot of times when he would throw a pick, he would bounce back, and so I knew it was capable of, because Purdy does sometimes make throws that almost get intercepted, but it never matters because he makes the plays when it needs to. So I definitely knew that we could still win the game if Purdy throws an interception. I even said before, I was like, don't be surprised if Purdy does throw an interception, but we still.
I mean, a game this big, honestly.
Okay, here's one thing that impresses me about Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
He's not afraid of getting hit like most quarterbacks, and he'll still deliver the ball. That's what really stands out. But he doesn't think bigger of himself. It doesn't seem to flinch him. That's what I like about him.
Why does this remind me of a certain pick number 199? It reminds me of Tom a little bit.
True.
Well, Tom was the underdog. He was the 199 pick. Nobody gave him a chance.
Just like Brock.
Yeah. I think Brock is a great story, but everybody's kind of like saying, can Brock Purdy be the Eli Manning to what Tom Brady was? Eli.
Can he be what
Mahomes is? Can he be what Mahomes is?
I feel like it's a bit insulting to call him Eli at least this early. It's a little too early to say.
Tom never had one.
Because here's the thing. He was good in the playoffs, but in regular season, he was always kind of inconsistent. He was average to mediocre. He was never going to be as good as his older brother was. No, I mean, let's be honest. He was as good.
Yeah, one thing about Eli was he was poising the big games, even though his numbers weren't all that. But if I had to compare what I've seen from Brock from those games alone, I had to put it into like a mobile Drew Brees, just because he moves and he processes quickly. And I can't think of a quarterback as close to Brock Purdy than Drew Brees. Drew Brees, he's a quick thrower. He processes the ball, and it's right on the money.
And also the first time in years, or I don't know, since Garcia, I think, 49ers now finally have a quarterback that can actually throw the deep ball.
And he's not afraid. One thing about Brock Purdy is he is not afraid of taking deep shots, which I like about him.
Jimmy G was too scared to do it, or he could never.
He takes the deep shots.
2017, Jimmy looked like he was confident doing that, but he just lost his confidence quick. And I want to welcome some people into the.
He never really threw the deep ball, even in 17. I remember
right.
He was always a check down guy like Tom Brady. He looked like he was fresh off the Pats, honestly.
And Kyle trusts him. Kyle trusts Brock, which matters because he didn't trust much with Jimmy. Like that's what I've noticed.
Brock, what about does he also remind you in any way because there was another certain quarterback that Kyle wanted before we ended up getting Brock, and this sort of like became a meme in the 49ers
Kirk
community.
Cousins is what you're talking about.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins.
You mean the pretty version of Kirk Cousins, the Jimmy G one?
I was wondering if anybody could wonder if Purdy is maybe Kirk Cousins, but he can actually win in the playoffs. Because Cousins historically has also been known to be a stat patter like Dak. But
Kirk Cousins was known for being a good, accurate thrower, but he always had his time and he always threw the ball right. But I think with Brock Purdy, you're getting a quick processor. Like everybody calls him the robot because he processes things quickly and he erases things like it never happened.
Right. And so I wanted to welcome some people into the chat real quickly.
All right, I'm gonna hit up right now, bro. My wife's.
Okay, yeah, CG,
right.
thank you so much for joining me. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah,
appreciate that. CG Ruthless, of course. He does a great job covering the Niners on his own channel. You can go check it out as well. I wanted to welcome BJ. I don't know if he's still feeling, but welcome to BJ. Big Vol Daddy in the house. BVD. Welcome in, BVD. BVD is a YouTube legend, big Tennessee Vols fan. Is also a fan of the Arizona Cardinals as well. And That is not PR on with me. That is formerly 49er Wildcat. No, PR did not transition into being a Niner fan. But that is funny.
Why did people think I sounded like PR for a second? Did they really think so?
I guess now that you mentioned it, you kind of do sound a little bit like PR. Of course, PR is a legendary Eagles fan on here. He's from originally from New Jersey, grew up in San Jose. Awesome dude. He's actually the nephew of the late great Bob Saget as well. So shout out to PR though, but no, that is not him. He points out that you guys need to realize that Detroit quit in that game. They had the Niners on the ropes and let go, but congrats on making a big game.
I would say yeah.
I wouldn't say Detroit necessarily quit. I just the Niners momentum the momentum shifted in the second half.
We all knew what happened.
Too aggressive. If Campbell didn't make smarter decisions, the Lions could have still won that game, in my opinion. So I wouldn't necessarily.
I would say that immaculate deflection was the one that broke the camel's back. Even Dante Whitner said in the NBC postgame show, he said, "Yeah, as bad as that missed fourth down conversion was for Detroit, he said what really broke everything for Detroit, where the dam completely collapsed, was when Ayuk made that circus catch." That was when everybody knew the 49ers were going to come back and win the football game.
Now, for me, it was right. It was right after that when Armstead recovered the fumble. Now, I thought the Niners were back in that game at that point, but that's when I initially thought the Niners were just going to win the game. Was when Armstead recovered the fumble right after that happened. That's what I think.
Yeah, that was.
Sorry, I don't know if Sentinel is still watching, but I want to welcome him if he still is.
There's one guy who I definitely wish was still healthy right now for the Niners going into Super Bowl 58, and you probably know who I'm talking about.
Hufanga?
Yeah, I wish he was still around. God damn it. We definitely need him for to deal with Patty Mahomes.
And also, let's see, I want to Sentinel. Sorry, this is what I meant to show earlier. He said, I think Purdy thinks he can shoot it out with Mahomes. That's a lot of confidence going to the Super Bowl. Yes, absolutely. Now, Purdy has, of course, never been in the Super Bowl, but Purdy can definitely win a shootout against Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, Purdy is now officially 4-2 in the playoffs and now has an NFC Championship game under his belt. I mean, I don't blame him for having that confidence. And you're going to Viva Las Vegas, so that's a big deal. I mean, if he wins that Super Bowl, which is definitely going to be very difficult for him to do because it's against one of the best defenses in the National Football League, but also you're going up against a future Hall of Famer who's not even 30 years old yet. I think he is the best quarterback in this league right now. It doesn't mean he's going to win the Super Bowl, but I mean, like CG stated earlier, though, Mahomes doesn't have the same amount of deadly weapons as he did in Super Bowl 54. There's no Tyreek Hill. There's no Juju Smith-Schuster like he did last year.
BBD, seriously. I really appreciate you coming on and interacting with my chat. It means a lot. BBD is an absolute legend. Also, Cartman 1138 is going to be a shootout. Thank you for.
I hope so, because that would be an entertaining football game. I would absolutely be ecstatic if it was a shootout.
Well, I probably this Niners Lions game would be a shoot and it wasn't exactly a shootout. It was more of a tale of two halves where the Lions dominated the first.
It was like two games. It was like two games in one game. You were like, once the first half ended, it was almost like that was the end of one game. The real game, though, started in the second half. The second half is always the more important part of the game than compared to the first half. First half is like a warm-up act before we get the real deal. And yeah, I'm still kind of, not going to lie, it's definitely one of the more satisfying playoff victories we've gotten in a long time. I would say this is even more satisfying than the 2012 NFC Championship.
Yes, it was, because even though the margin was the same, it was a later margin. Now, the reason why I actually was confused because I thought they were saying it was the first time that a team in the NFC Championship has come back from a 17-point deficit. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what about, didn't we do that back against the Falcons in the 2012-13 season? But so what it was actually is it was the first time that a team has come back in an NFC Championship game after being down by 17 or more at halftime. Yeah, because when the Falcons
Yeah,
went up against the Niners in that game, it was just in the second quarter, but not at halftime. So there was
Yeah,
a
at
little more time
halftime, we
in
were
that
only
game.
down by 10. The game was still winnable. We knew that we were
Yeah.
still in it. It's just the thing, though, is Atlanta's offense was cooking in that first half. And what we had to do in the second half, though, is how could we figure out how to stop and contain Matt Ryan and his receivers? And what do you know? We did. It's just, it took us a while, though, to score the points. Because if you remember in that game, Michael Crabtree fumbled in the end zone. And also, don't forget, there was also a missed field goal by David Akers, who, by the way, ended up leaving the team after that season.
Yeah, David Akers that year, he was good, really good in the regular season, and then just was horrible in the postseason. I don't get that.
Wait, David Akers, good in 2012? No, you clearly don't remember.
Or actually, no, I'm sorry.
I
think I'm thinking of the first game where he made that 63-yard field goal. I think, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, he made the 63-yard field goal, and then he kind of was bad in for the rest of that year.
He was awful in 2012 after having a god 2011 season.
Yeah, that's what I'm worth it. Yeah, he had an incredible season in 2011 and 2012. He made the 63-yard field goal week one. Maybe that messed up his leg a little bit.
Maybe. I mean, like, who knows? But the way I see it, though, there's no excuse for you to struggle that much. I remember even Niner fans at the Stick were booing him when he kept missing those field goals against the Cardinals. It was just bad. I was like, oh my God, is this guy going to really cost us a big game? Well, fortunately, no. He never cost us any playoff games. In fact, he was in the Super Bowl, he was actually perfect. In the NFC Championship game, he missed one kick. In the Packer game, he didn't miss anything at all. So in the playoffs, he wasn't really that big of a factor. Though I think the only one where he was really going to cause problems was, that Atlanta game. But yeah, we ended up replacing him with Phil Dawson. That turned out to be a wise decision because Phil turned out to be a very reliable kicker. And then replacing Phil was Robbie Gould, who, in my opinion, is the greatest kicker in 49ers history. And it's a real shame he didn't stay with the team for one more year due to contract issues. And no other team signed him after that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Now, actually, I wanted to address what... Now, BBD said Mahomes will end up breaking all Brady's Super Bowl records. Y'all enjoy the week and in the game and go Cardinals. We're winning it next year. And then Sentinel responded saying the fact that you're not cheering on for a local kid is pretty saucy. Now, actually, Big Vol Daddy is not. He's a Cardinal fan, but he's not from Arizona. He's from he's from Tennessee, and I think his Cardinal fandom, I think, comes from when they were in St. Louis.
St. Louis.
I forget his whole story, but I will say that BBD is a better Cardinal fan than a lot of the people that here in the state of Arizona where I live. But I want to actually get into that now. And I've still got to drive by and see it. There actually is a billboard here up the I-17 somewhere in the Phoenix area that said from Lair Monroe, actually a company that in accident injury attorney company that I've known. I've seen their commercials for years growing up because they have a classic jingle like call 977-190. So they're actually have a billboard that says "Let's go Brock Purdy," and there are some Cardinal fans that are salty about that, which I think is kind of funny.
You know, it's bad when even the people in your own state where you're supposed to represent are now jumping on the 49er bandwagon. Oh, because the local kid is doing... You know, it was sort of the same thing, by the way, in Novato, which is up north in the North Bay. Yeah. Jared Goff was from there. He grew up there.
Yeah, I know there were people on the Jared Goff train there, yeah.
I mean, but, you know, there's still no excuse. You got to root for the home team. If you're not, you're a bandwagon fan.
Well, I would say in that case, I mean, maybe it would be I'm sure that was a lot of the fans in the Bay Area that weren't necessarily Niner fans, just like a lot of the... Well, and then for the Arizona side, there's a lot of Niner fans just in Arizona. Now, for me, of course, I'm originally from the Bay Area. That's
I'll be serious, though. I'll be serious for a second, by the way. The fact that there's a lot of Niner fans in Arizona is really bad news for the Cardinals organization. It means they're losing the youth to their division rival, the 49ers.
It's been like that for years. And like whenever I go to a Niners Cardinal game, you see the Niners pretty much take over the stadium. Not as much as necessarily as they would in LA and that, but but they'll have more tailgates and all that.
But the Niners are winning over the Arizona youth.
Yeah,
they're winning over the Arizona youth, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
And Purdy's only going to make it worse because he's actually from there.
Yeah. And he was a top high school player here, actually, as a matter of fact.
Cardinals have lost. You know, it's funny because Brock Purdy's old enough to be a classmate of mine when I went to high school. And It's just crazy. I'm still in like college, yet this guy's already playing superstar ball in the National Football League. That's just crazy.
Yeah,
But
he's almost 3 years younger. He was born 3 days before the start of Y2K, the start of the new millennium.
yeah. I mean, but literally though, Cardinals, man, if Brock continues to do what he's doing now, like for the next few years or so, I think the Cardinals will have lost maybe Gen Z and maybe the Alphas for good if Purdy continues to perform at this level throughout his career.
Hey, at least they have the Diamondbacks. At least the Diamondbacks made it to the World Series last year. At least they have, and the Suns still have KD, even though they're not playing that well. So,
look, let's be honest about Arizona's sports teams at the moment. I mean, I don't think they could be in a much worse position, but yeah, the Cardinals are really the only one that need to get their act together. I feel like it's that ownership group, which I think that has owned them since the St. Louis days, that's holding them back. Is it the Bidwills, I think?
yeah, the Bidwills, yeah.
Oh my God. How the hell do they still own them? They should just fuck off and go. Sell the team for like $1 billion or so and leave. It's the same thing with the A's fandom, by the way. The Oakland A's have now lost all their fans to the Giants, even though Giants are not even putting on a serious product on the field.
Right.
But that's not beside the point. If one organization is close enough and they're doing more winning than a certain other organization, they're going to lose those fans to that team. So it doesn't surprise me that Cardinals are losing the local Arizona kids over to the 49ers. And maybe even the LA Rams for all I know. Because at least Rams are still sort of winning. Even though I don't think they're ever going to match the Niners. I honestly think that 2021 Super Bowl run was not just fluky because, well, they only lost because Jimmy choked. And also Shanahan did his usual choking. But also the fact that, I mean, we got to be honest here. Also, the fact that they assembled a super team at the right time. They sort of reminded me of that 2019 Toronto Raptors team where they assembled a one-of-a-kind super team that was only going to last for like 1 year, and that would be it. That's what the 2021 LA Rams were. They were the NFL's 2019 Raptors.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it for definitely. But so I'm actually gonna end this stream right now. I wanted to thank, of course, Bandwagoner 2011. Thank you, Sean, for joining me. Thank you to CG Ruthless as well for joining me as well. Thank you to everyone that interacted with it. Oh, Chris Barnett also joined me as well, and thank you everyone for viewing. And for those of you that want to stay connected with me right now, I'm actually going to go into Stephen Langford and Derek Papa, the son of Greg Papa's live show. Then I'll post a link to that right now if you guys would like to join it as well. Actually, wanted to welcome a legendary video maker, real quickly, Savage 49ers 16. I have not. That's been a minute since I've seen him. JD also checked in right now. If you guys want to watch the archive, Savage is funny. I actually ran into him in Denver when I went to the Niners Broncos game, and I did not recognize him, but apparently he snapped a picture of me. So shout out to Savage 49ers 16. I was not expecting him. But anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Let's go Niners. Let's win the Super Bowl. I'm going to be in Vegas next week. I'll post some content, and I'm going to go live, I think, before that as well. So thank you everyone for watching. Have a great night. Peace out.